Before the show starts, I would like to ask that everyone please leave your emotions at the door. Okay. This is just two people talking, trying to hash things out and just have an open dialogue. It's nothing to get emotional about. We at BMR, we love everyone. We love women, we love men, we love other genders, we love everyone. Doesn't matter the race, doesn't matter the religion, doesn't matter the political affiliation, but viewer discretion is advised. Okay. By saying that, I would also like to say before we get into it that you hit the like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And without further ado, let's get started with the show.
Anything?
What up? What up? What up? This is Mike the Philosopher here with another one with the great Dr. Khafilah. How are you?
Good, Mike.
All right. All right. It's been a lot that's been going on out in these streets, as they say. Okay. And I wanted your opinion on that, on some of these things. I know there are some people who check for you when you show up on a spot. So I wanted to get your opinion about some things. Now, uh, one of the things that I seen in the news, and this maybe a couple days old now, is Elon Musk. Elon Musk said some things about minorities that was questionable. Pretty much what he said is that airlines should not trust black people to fly airplanes because we have a lower IQ. And it is considered a safety hazard to have us flying planes. Your thoughts?
Hmm. Well, that's kind of interesting because the last time I checked, it was mostly white boys that had lack of sleep or were on alcohol or drugs that were bringing down
Mm,
planes all over the place. But nevertheless, it's one of those situations where the what's her name, Nancy? I don't even know what her last name is. Just saying there's no racism in America or there's no racism. I mean, that's ridiculous. We all know that African Americans are capable of doing anything that we put our minds to. And I think it's just a ploy because if you take critical race theory out of the schools or you take history of African peoples out of the school, and then all you continue to do is perpetuate those stereotypes that we're not intelligent, that all we like to do is, play sports and rap and all that other foolishness. So I wouldn't even give any credence to what he's saying. I mean, given the fact that he's taken his research from the great Tesla to make the Tesla car. So it's not like he's some type of
mm-hmm.
freaking genius. He's building off of the research of Tesla, the great Tesla. So I mean, really. So I wouldn't even give any thought to what he said. I think the NAWCP and some other folks were up in arms about it, but it just
Right.
shows that we need to continue to push the importance of not only children of color, but other children understanding who we are and our contributions to the world. I mean, I lived in Ethiopia for 2 years. I flew Ethiopian Airlines all the time, black pilots, black airline stewardess. Nothing went wrong.
All
Nothing.
black everything. Yeah, and they have some of those crews here in the US too.
Yeah, I think Ethiopian Airlines was ranked number one. I mean, for like over 10 years. So it's like, it's
Hmm.
just ignorance. It's just his lack of ignorance and his ability to want to continue to perpetuate stereotypes about people of color. And that's what that is. And it's like every time we respond to that, we fall into it. It's like a bait. Let's bait them in. We fall into that. And the focus should just continue to be educating our children and educating children of color and other children so they can understand that Africa or African Americans, we were not in some dark ages and most of the technology they get anyway came from our ancestors setting the ground for everything. Europeans were in caves and sleeping with animals and doing all kinds of things before the Moors came along and taught them how to bathe and do other things. And so it's like, it's just ignorance. It's just ignorance. I would tell Elon Musk to go read a book or something like that on African American history.
I don't know if you remember this. This was probably a few years ago, maybe in 19, maybe in 20, something like that. um, black employees were starting to complain at Tesla at some of the plants because of
Mhm.
racism,
And because of racism. And at
and they
one
weren't getting treated well, and the company seemed to do nothing about it.
Right. At one point, I thought about a Tesla because I really, especially the SUVs. My son really liked the doors and all that stuff. Now you won't be getting my dollars, and if I was an African American that owned a Tesla, I would sell that bad boy or give it back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You don't support racism. I think it was another situation in the news where Luliman, I think it is. I'm not into all those label type stuff. Said he didn't design his clothes for black people to be wearing. That we bring the label down. I mean, when will we get to the point that you shut things down by not supporting them, by not buying their stuff? And I don't
exactly.
know why we seek that validation by having that stuff on our back. Now, granted, you make money, you can wear what you want to wear, but why not invest that money into African designers or African American designers? There are plenty of them on the market now.
But you still got those ones like what's that boxer Mayweather? He
Yeah.
don't care. He'll rock those, labels and all trying to seek validation. No, ain't nobody impressed by that. Yeah, I'm with you. They won't be getting my dollars. We got to stand in unity. And he really messed up with that statement. So, not to mention that Tesla's been crashing all over
All
the
over the place.
countries.
Yeah, and with
So,
the weather, I think there's some storms on the East Coast. People can't get the car to start, the battery not work. Man, come on. That
yeah,
guy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, another thing is, what are your thoughts about Dr. Umar? Okay, he been on a tour of sorts. I seen him on Hardly Initiated, one of the podcasts, and he was talking about a lot of things. He was talking religion. He was talking the couples, black couples. One of his topics was interracial couples, and pretty much saying that the men are the main ones who are at fault with this. Sisters don't hardly do it. But he said he really don't support interracial couples. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, not everybody got their preference. I think there was a time where African American women or women of color were not dating outside of their race, but I think the trend has changed in which sisters are now, they. I think I saw a sister yesterday or whatever it was. She was with an Asian guy, and I had to do a double take. I was like, what? So, I mean, I think
Really?
I think it's changing. I think the shift is changing. I get what Umar is saying that, if you marry outside your race, that person is going to have an allegiance. That white woman is going to have an allegiance to her own people. That white man is going to have an allegiance to their own people. But my question is, where would the allegiance be if I was a black man married to a white woman and the race riot broke out? Am I going to side with my wife or am I going to side with my people? So I think it just depends on your chain of thought. I mean, I shout out to Dr. Umar. I'm Dr.
What?
Look me up. We do that food test together.
Yeah, because you rock heavy with Doc, right? You
I
you you
do.
agree with a lot of his stuff.
I agree with a lot of things that he says. I really am a supporter of what he's trying to do in the African American community in terms of school and educating our children. And so, listen, everybody got their preferences. People are lonely. People want love. There's a lot of toxicity going on in our communities, and brothers and sisters need to do the healing. They need to do the work in order to be able to come together and form families and move forward. But it's not happening. Everybody seems to be in their own,
Or
path,
would you
whatever.
con- would you consider yourself Pan African, or you would consider yourself more liberal?
I'm definitely not liberal. I'm not. I don't like to put labels on myself. I stand on the side of right, and I'm going to put it that way. I
Okay,
stand on the side of what is right and what
okay,
is and
okay.
one of the ways that you stand on the side of what is right is that you need to do the research, you need to do your homework, you need to read outside of mainstream media and do some reading. I think the first book that I ever read was The Miseducation of the Negro. by
Mm,
Carter G. Woodson, and the second one was The Spook Who Sat by the Door by James Greenlee. So I think you have to do the reading. You get the college degree, but you have to read beyond the college degree. So it's an individual choice. People have choices. That's the beautiful thing about free will. You have a choice to believe and serve and do what you want to do.
hmm.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
he also spoke about some of the churches too. He said that the churches don't want sisters to get husbands, and the reason they don't want sisters to get husbands is because husbands kind of stop women from donating to the churches. So let's keep the women single, have them go to church, and we're not going to promote marriages and things like that. Do you agree with that, or you got something to add to that, or you just totally disagree?
The last time I checked my Bible, it said the temple of God is within. So, I mean,
Hmm.
and I think there's a scripture, and I don't want to misquote this, said you can split the bench in half and you're not going to find God there. People are continuously looking outside of themselves for something that resides with them. You are a God. The God that you serve resides inside of you. He says,
Mm.
we are gods. And so, I mean, I don't follow pastors. I follow the spirit that lives in me. I follow the I follow what lives inside of me. And so if
Hmm.
people want to give their money to churches and do all those types of things, then I think you need to start holding churches accountable. Where are the schools? Where are the hospitals? Where are the banks? I think the only one when I was in the church like that, oh my goodness, his name escapes me. And he built a bank. He has a school in Chicago. Oh my goodness. Fabulous brother. I can't think of his name right now. And it escapes me. It'll come to me.
Creflo Dollar? No,
No,
I'm
no,
just
no, no, no.
I'm
In
kidding. I'm kidding.
Chicago,
I'm
in
kidding.
Chicago, I can't think of
No.
can't think of his name right now. So you know,
Jake's is not in Chicago, is he? No, he's
mm-mm,
down south. Yeah.
no, it'll come to me. But I just think that people have to find God. I mean, first of all, God is not missing. God, whatever you call that deity, is not missing. It lies within. And I think because people are hurting, they continue to look outside themselves for the answers, and the answers are inside of you. And
Hmm.
until people get to that point where they understand that the answers are inside of them, they're gonna keep giving their money to the church and all this other stuff. First of all, charity begins at home. So if I know that my neighbor doesn't have any food or my neighbor is struggling, why would I then take my tithes or whatever it is that I want to give and give it to the church when I know my neighbor across the way is struggling? So I think we need to rethink about how we tithe and how we give our service. I think when we think about tithing, we think it's only to a church. I think I heard Cat Williams says that whenever he goes into a town and he makes X amount of money, he donates to a homeless shelter, a percentage of his earnings.
Yeah.
I think we have to rethink how we give our money away, because I look at it as giving your money away. Like, does the church really tell you what the money is for? So is it a percentage
Yeah. He said churches over 250, if they make over 250K, they should start giving back to the community. And he really seemed to detest mega churches. Like, they're
yeah,
not really doing nothing for the community. They are they're not really giving back. It's all going on, phantoms and alligators. And he didn't say that, but pretty much what he's saying is that they don't give back enough. And I think the black community contribute. Don't quote me on this. So I thought he said something around $8 million a week in
Woo!
ties all over the country, and that doesn't get put back into the community practically at all. So
If that is, do you know what the African American community can do with 8 million? We can build our own schools for our children. We can
hmm.
hire our own African American teachers and give them the salary that they're worthy of. We can have our own hospitals. Man, listen.
And that's what he's doing. He's trying to build a school, and he's probably a little, I want to say, salty that the churches probably haven't done a lot to assist him in that. But it seemed that way outside looking in. He seemed a little salty and saying, "Look, for all of the money that we contribute to the church, we could be doing other things, building schools, building banks, and grocery stores and the like."
I totally agree. I totally agree. That's why I have so much respect for the Nation of Islam. as long as I can remember, even when I was a little girl, I used to get their final call and buy their bean pies and follow, the minister, because I appreciated what they were doing in the communities that I came up in, and the schools, and how they were educating children and educating young women on how to be women. I appreciate that, and I just think
Hmm.
that that is something that's gone by the wayside. I mean, it's like, you know at least within us. I mean, I'm sure that the nation is continuing to do the great works that they're doing, but it's like, I don't know. It's just really unfortunate that we still don't see. We still have not come to a place where we see the light when it comes to the types of finances that we're giving away to the church. I'm just not down for that. I never have,
Yeah,
really.
yeah. I mean, you talking about 8 million a week, 52 weeks. I mean, do the math. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is. It
That's a
is.
lot of money. You're talking about practically what 400 million, something like that.
Yeah,
I could be off.
Bill Winston is the pastor that I was thinking of. When I was in Chicago, I would go to
Oh,
Bill
okay.
Winston's church, and he actually took a mall, a literally mall, had a bank, stores, a school, a university, all for the congregation and the African American community. Now, that's what you do with your congregations, the
Mm,
tithes and offerings. Bill Winston, he's a phenomenal pastor from the time that I was in Chicago, and what I saw with my own eyes. The banks, the
mm.
universities, the churches, the schools, the stores
He
that he
was he
put.
was doing it right, huh?
Yeah, he was doing it right. When I was
Hmm.
there, and that was the early 2000s. So, you know,
Well, a
um,
lot of them just care more about their private jets and their ostrich skin boots. You know what I mean? And I'm not knocking pastors and things like that, but a part of me does agree that there can be more done in the community, and that money should be going back to the people in some type of community form, not just serving the few, but serving the whole.
I agree.
Maybe we need a new system to contribute to. So.
And I agree. And I think one of the things that needs to also happen is that people, I think sometimes the churches need to educate their congregation on how to empower themselves. Like, a lot of
Hmm.
people sleep on Reverend Ike, but Reverend Ike was talking about science of mind. And he was talking about your thoughts become your reality and what you have in your subconscious mind, and, all those types of things. And so I think it's very important that we move in a direction where we teach African American people, just people in general, how to empower themselves by what they think. Because I was telling my son the other day, because we were talking about the Chinese New Year. So this is the year of the dragon. My son was born in 2012, and he was like, "Oh, mom, I don't know," because they were saying that he's gonna have prosperity and this, and then this bad luck and this. I said, first of all, we're not Chinese. That's number one. I said, number
Hmm.
two, your thoughts become your reality. So I said, if you believe in your subconscious mind that this bad stuff is going to happen, I said, at some point you're going to speak that into existence, and it's going to manifest itself. I said, so you got to control your thoughts. You don't want to control your thoughts and your reality, but what you say and what you believe. Of course, he got in his little feelings and says, well, I'm not going to entertain this negativity anymore. I'm going to go in my room. I say, yeah, and go in your room and open up that science book. You have science homework. But anyway, it's complicated, and I think that people have to, when hurting people, seek things outside themselves, and oftentimes it's very difficult for people that are hurt to understand that they need to go within, because they need a quick fix.
Hmm.
So I think even with that quick fix, I think the turnaround should be is that the answers that you seek are within you, and so
Hmm.
it's all a game, man. It's all a game.
Yeah, yeah. Let me ask you this, and this is something that's really, I don't know. It's seeming to be a lot of division in the relationship arena. Okay, what is going on with modern day relationships in the United States? What are your thoughts about this? Who is to blame? Are we better off just being separate? The men and the women, everybody doing their own thing. No one seems to care about the other side anymore. What the hell is going on?
I mean, I don't have the master plan or the answer to that, but what I will say is that, and you and I have talked this many a times. What I will say is that I think it starts with the individual. You have to take the time to heal. Daddy issues, mommy issues, relationship issues, whatever it is, you have to take the time to heal, and you have to be able to know what it is that you will tolerate and what it is that you will not tolerate. It's interesting because I was thinking about this the other day. Um, Men in general don't really know how to have that intimate relationship with women. And I'm not talking
Mm.
about necessarily sex. I'm talking about just having that intimate relationship with women where, it's just, you're allowing, both parties are allowing themselves to be vulnerable, just intimate. It could be sitting in the park, just talking about things. Like when I was coming up, we talked about all the old school music. That's how we vibed and got to know one another. Yeah, did you hear that cut that the Temptations came out, or the Whispers, or Luther, or what's his name, Barry White? We vibed off of music and the things that were going on in the culture, and that's how we made our connections to one another. And I just really think that what has happened is that to some degree, the music and the culture has created um, circumstances in which people are just raw. And what I mean by that, there's no romance, there's no chivalry, there's no really wanting to get to know the person. It's just like, let's get to the meat and the potatoes. And quite frankly, and this is not a knock against men, but men typically, unless they've been taught and unless they've had some education around it, don't really know how to please women. If you ask a man what is the most sensitive, erroneous part on the woman, he'll say the vagina.
Okay,
Okay.
now, me being a man, okay, I'm gonna speak up for the men here, and I will have to say that in defense of men, pleasing women is at an all-time high.
No,
It, it can't. It can't. It's
you
at,
guys,
at no time in no
you
time in
think it is.
history has it been so difficult to please a woman. I'm a just keep it a buck.
You think it is. And see, the funny thing about it is that if women would really tell men how sorry they are in bed, it will just destroy the ego. Most men do not know how to please women. Most men learn from other men. And that's not how you learn to please a woman. You learn from a woman. It's a woman that could teach a man about her anatomy. Now, you can check this out. And I'm certain, and the brothers and sisters in the Nation of Islam, forgive me if I'm wrong. Um, I think I heard a minister say that heaven is at the foot of the woman. And I think in their teaching of how men are to treat women and how women are to treat men, they teach them anatomy. And so men learn typically from other men. Oh man, and you shouldn't be learning from a man. What does a man know about a woman's anatomy other than what his boys told him? Who better knows her anatomy than the woman herself? But when a woman tries to instruct a man on how to please her, it becomes a defensive mechanism. It
Well,
becomes a defense. Oh, the ego gets in the way.
well, look. Okay, listen. I understand that men need to understand how to please women. Okay. Um,
But in doing
let,
that,
let but
women,
there is no more education the women have on pleasing men either. Let's be
but
clear.
oh,
Okay.
did you hear what I said? I said if men learn how to do that, do you think in turn that would shift the dynamics of the relationship? Because the woman would then be more inclined to,
I'm I'm not I'm not necessarily just talking physical here though. Okay.
okay,
Okay. Because a lot of women like to lean on that when because they feel like they got the upper hand on the physical. But
oh,
I'm not just talking physical. I'm talking about overall. Like, what is it that is going on? Because yeah, physically, both parties can say that. See, men don't tell women when they suck. We just don't. Okay. We just keep it pushing, or we'll probably ghost. That's just how men move because it will protect the female ego. Now,
well, maybe
women,
women should reverse that. Maybe we should just start saying you suck.
well, not. Yeah, I mean, what good is that going to do? Like, okay, they asked 21 Savage. He's a rapper. Okay, they asked 21 Savage. 21. What happened to all of the love the love songs of this generation? What happened to them? He
Mm.
said because now these are his words. Don't don't jump on me. He said women today are B's and 304s. Ain't nobody gonna write no love songs about today's women. That's what he said. Okay, so there seems to be, um, like I said before, a gangster mentality with the boys, and you know, sort of a prostitute mentality with the ladies today. Am I wrong on that? Am I off? What do you got to say about that?
I think that the technology has just made it more in the forefront. I mean, there's no different than, I mean, there were women in the 50s, 60s, 30s, 40s, 70s, whatever, that was doing the same thing that some of these young girls were doing today. The difference is that they didn't have the technology back then to put it on Front Street like it is now. I think the technology has made it more visible. And we're in shock mode because we recognize that it exists, but we were smart enough to keep it undercover. Now it's like I'm just gonna put it in your face, and I think it's a shame that he feels that way. And all I can say is that maybe he's operating out of his own experiences in the terms of the types of women that he attracts to themselves. See, Mike, you and I have had these conversations before, and what I've always said is that you attract to yourself what you are. So if you're calling a woman a hoe and a bee, you must be a hoe and a bee yourself as a man. We
Hmm.
attract what we are. And if
Ho-
you're
ho- ho-
vibrating at that level, that's what you're going to attract. I am a strong believer of you attract what you are. And when you're operating from a certain vibration, you attract to yourself that which is good. And if you're operating down here, that's what you're going to attract to yourself. And I
hmm.
strongly believe that. But
Yeah.
we all have the ability, both men and women, when we meet a man and there are certain red flags, we have a choice. Am I going to go ahead and get involved in this relationship? Or I'm going to say, no, that's not for me. Same thing with a woman. With a man, he has a choice. When he sees a woman, the red flags are there. Are we going to get involved in that relationship or are we going to back up? The problem is, most of us think that we can change people. You can't change nobody but yourself if you're willing to.
See.
So,
Okay. So you're on a belief that you attract what you are. You can't change anybody.
no, you can't.
But I'm talking about the culture as a whole. How is it different from the 50s to what it is now?
I think the culture as a whole from back then, as I mentioned earlier, there were pockets of people that were doing the same things that these OnlyFans and folks are doing now. The difference is the technology wasn't there, so you heard about it by word of mouth. You didn't see it all over the internet. The difference is that you had parents or you had people that were showing young people how to be young men and how young women how to be young women. That doesn't exist anymore. Well, I shouldn't say anymore. It's in pockets. Everybody wants to be they're famous. Everybody wants their 5 minutes of fame. Everybody wants to, show their boobs, shake their ass, twerk, and all that other kind of foolishness. Because that is what the culture is defined as a woman, because there's nobody teaching these young girls how to be young ladies. There's nobody teaching them.
Right. And it seems to me, and you may disagree with this, but it seems to me that technology has given women more options. And when
Options how? Options how?
options on uh, options on being separated from a man. And what I mean by that is they have more options to work on their own and not have to cooperate with a man. They have options on social media to garner more attention. They have options on OF to create a page and just show their box and get paid from that. They have options to go to a club and take it all off and let it rain ones. They have so many options to be like ladies in the 50s, they didn't have these options.
Yes, they did.
No,
Protect.
no. I mean, no, no. Let me say this. Let me say this. It's the oldest profession in the world. I know that part. But what I'm saying is, nowadays, today, they couldn't get. First of all, it was shunned back then.
Of
Okay,
course.
it was demeaned even more back then than it is now. Now it's I can do whatever I want to do, and they're getting rewarded with the monetization of this. I mean, they can make a whole lot of money. Some make more than some doctors. Okay, and that's just by putting it putting it on the glass. So the question I have is, do you think that technology, in your opinion, changed women for the better or for the worse? Which one do you think it was?
Technology is a tool, and whatever any individual decides to do with that tool is upon them. I think women have basically listen. When I was in
I'm
undergrad,
talking about in relationships. I'm not talking about, in entrepreneurship and things
listen,
like that. Did technology change women for the better or worse in relationships?
I can't speak for if technology changed all women,
Well,
but I can say
just take a guess. I'm talking about in general, overall, as a whole. If you had to categorize it and put them all, yeah, there's one-offs here and there, but I'm talking about as a whole. Do you think it changed for the better or worse for relationships, not entrepreneurship?
I don't think technology is made anything better or worse for women. I think it's just a tool, and what people decide to do with it is their choice. Period.
Okay, so let's look at statistics then. Are are marriages going up or down?
Well, women are the ones that file for the divorce. We're the first ones to file for divorce, and we need to ask ourselves why. Men need to be asking themselves why.
Uh,
Why is a
yeah,
woman the
we
first
do
to
need
file?
to ask that. We
Yeah,
do need to
we need
ask
to
that.
ask ourselves that. Why?
So you would say marriages are worse nowadays than they was back in the 50s.
I'm not going to see. I cannot say that they are worse because there's some stuff that went on back in the 50s that women just tolerated. Today, women are not tolerating.
I'm talking about in percentage wise as far as the number of marriages that are
I don't.
happening.
I, I would have to look at the numbers. I don't know what the numbers were from the 1950s in terms of divorce and so on and so forth. I don't have that data in front of me. But what I will say is that yes, women are filing more women are filing for divorce than ever before, and then the question needs to be raised: why? Men need
What in your opinion why? Why
the
if you
question
had to
is
put
why.
a guess on it, why would you say that that's happening?
Well, if I had to guess, I would say there's a breakdown in communication, definitely. People went into, I would say maybe some went into marriage for all the wrong reasons. Some had that storybook ideology about marriage. It could be a number of reasons. It could be a number of reasons. What I will say is that from my perspective, marriage is a partnership. It's a partnership. It is not the woman does everything and the man does nothing, or the woman does. It's supposed to be a partnership. We're supposed to build one another up. If I get with a guy and he's not taking me to the next level, and I'm not just simply talking about monetary. If he's not taking me to the next level or opening my eyes to see some different things, then what's the point of us being together? And vice versa. What are
Right.
you doing for me that I can't do for myself? And when men talk about, oh, I don't care about a woman's education, that's a ploy to keep us here. Education, a woman being educated can help a man in a lot of ways, and a man being educated can help a woman in a lot of ways, vice versa. So why are we on that trip about, oh, that don't mean nothing? You're a lie. It does. It's the difference.
It does.
It does. Education does mean something between men and women. So why are we lying? Why are men lying to themselves and saying, I don't care if the woman has a degree or not? Why lie?
Okay, you
Why
want me to
lie?
tell? Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Fundamentally, men and women are different. Okay,
Okay.
women look for certain things in men. Men look for certain things in women. Women look for resources, protection. Education can be kind of a subcategory to both of those, to be honest, in provision and in protection, because he can always be employable. Um, they look for those things. Men they're not looking for protection or provision. They're looking for someone who is a helpmeet to them, who can feed their soul. A woman without an education can do that just as good as a woman with an education.
I guess
Okay.
it depends on what you're looking for when you say feed your soul. If
Well,
you
this
lack it, if
I'm
you lack
talking
it,
about I'm
feed your soul with that.
I'm talking about men in general. Men ain't look. A woman without an education can love on a man just as good, it probably even some would argue better than a
Mm,
woman with an education.
okay.
Okay? Because the woman with an education is going to pedestalize herself in a way that is going to always be competitive with the man because she is playing the role of provision. Okay, she is playing the role of go out here and work and earn money. Now that may be fine and dandy, but oftentimes women don't really uh, use their money in a way that is ultimately beneficial to most men. Okay, men are not looking for women to oh yeah, she got to have a job here, she got to have this sort of education so that I can love on her. No, that's not how men think. I don't That's another thing. I don't think that women understand men at all. I mean, they say they do, but when men try to explain things to a lot of women, all they do is come back with a whole bunch of rebuttals as to why that man is wrong instead of listening to men. Okay, when we tell you we don't care, I don't know how many times, I don't know how many dudes said that. We don't care. We care about what you can bring to us. At the end of the day, that's all women care about. That's all men care about. What in the world are you going to do for me?
I
Okay?
don't know any man that will say, well, let me before I say that, let me put it in this category. I think you and I had this conversation before, Mike. It depends on the circles that you run into. It depends on the circles that you're in. This is a class situation. I don't know any men in my circle that will say they don't care about a woman not having no education. Oh no. Oh no. I don't know any men that operate like that in my circle.
You know the men who care about that? The men who really, really care about that are the men who don't want you stealing their wealth. Okay? That's Those are the men that care about that. Look, you got to have something going on with
That's
yourself so
funny.
you don't come after me and try to steal my wealth if things go left.
That
Okay?
is the
Have
absolute
your own job. Have
go
your own.
ahead.
I know men who have hired their wives to work for their own company. Now they signed a prenup, but they hired their wife to work on their own company just so that his wife can have a steady job. So if things go left, uh, she can use that experience to go find another job.
I don't know. I don't know.
It wasn't because he cared about her education or her work or anything. She was working for him,
I
but
don't
he
know. Many
made
men don't want no dumb women. I'm sorry. I just don't. I don't. I mean, and maybe that's your reality, but I just don't know no men. I do not
look.
personally.
Education in school is not that's not a measure of intelligence. Let's be clear.
Of course, it's
Okay.
not. Of course, it's
Okay,
not.
because you said you don't know any man who want no dumb woman. Just because she don't go to college, there are a lot of women in third world countries or wherever that are just as intelligent, just didn't get the location lottery that a lot of other women got as far as opportunities and things like that. Don't mean that they're not smart and intelligent. You
I
see what
never
I'm
said
saying?
that a degree equates intelligence. What I said is that I don't know any men that are not interested in women that are educated. It does not mean that a woman that does not have a degree cannot help elevate the family or the community to the next level. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, in the circles that I frequent and the brothers that I know, they will not date a woman that is not college educated, period. And it has nothing to do with just in case things go south, she got her own money. I don't operate with people that think like that. I just don't.
Well, if you look at some of the more um, well-to-do men, I don't see a whole lot of them looking for women who are smarter than them. Again, look, listen. I'm not saying men want dumb women. Okay, we want smart women. But what we're
I
saying
don't
is
want
that
smart women. I
education is
want
not a
women.
measure of intelligence.
I don't
We,
no, it's not. But I don't think you guys want smart women. I think you want women that you can control and manipulate. That's why the
n-
preference is for younger women, with the ideal that
Stubbornness is not equal to intelligent. Okay,
oh come on,
See,
everybody's
let's.
stubborn.
Huh?
Everybody's stubborn. Everybody got
No,
a
everybody's not stubborn. Everybody's
everyone
not
has a
stubborn.
streak of stubbornness with them depending on the circumstance.
Maybe in the West. Okay, but
Oh my,
I'm gonna
are you
tell.
sure?
But
I've been living in Africa, I don't know how long. You don't think African women are stubborn?
no,
Oh,
they're
okay.
turning. They're turning. They're
Okay.
turning. Look, listen. Shout out to Africa. I love Africa, but they are turning. Why? Because they have access to Western culture. Okay, they have the internet. The women are turning stubborn there because they watching Western women move. Okay.
Have you ever thought that women are just tired of the bullshit? That we have woken up and said we're not playing this game with y'all no more. I mean, it's just really interesting how men don't want to take accountability for some of the things that have happened as it relates to relationships. Everything is the woman's fault. The woman's fault. You men in general are violent. You guys are taught to be violent. When do you see when a man shows a soft side of himself? Oh, he's a simp. He's a beta. He's this. You guys got so much of that alpha and that energy of that dominant male in you that it's very hard to tap the soft side of you guys. And so, have you ever thought that women are saying, you know what, I can do bad by myself. I'm not dealing with this. I'm not dealing with this, and I'm moving on.
Anybody could do bad
Again,
by themselves.
again, it's like I can't
But
believe.
if we're talking about building a community, what like look, we're stronger as a community. Okay, united we stand, divided we fall. That's how it should be. But
Yeah,
women want to be individualized stand. That's how women think. And
well,
how can you expect to build a community for your future kids, for your future uh, community, when you're thinking like that, like quitting, like, look, I can do bad by myself, and you end up doing bad by yourself.
you know what I saw? Let me show you what I saw yesterday, and I kind of said to myself, "Wow."
We're the only community that think like that, by the way.
Wait a minute. Let me just share some with
Go
you what I
ahead.
saw yesterday, and I thought this was interesting. I would happen to be scrolling through TikTok, and I just shook my head. This woman, she was married. She gets out of the Uber and she walks up the driveway. And as she walking up the driveway, she says, "What is my car doing here?" So this woman comes out the house and she says, "What are you doing in my driveway?" So the woman says, "This is my husband's car. What is he doing here?" So, so the man was over his
And
mistress
now I seen that
driving,
video.
and driving his wife's car.
I
And I'm
seen
just
that
like,
video.
so the point that I'm trying to make is that we can't keep saying it's the women, it's the women, it's the women. The work needs to be done on both the men's, on the part of the man and the part of the women. The healing needs to be done. Men need to do the work that requires them to heal themselves mentally, get some therapy, whatever. Women need to do the work that requires them to get some therapy, whatever. And I think to a degree, women are saying, "Okay, I'm doing my counseling, I'm getting my therapy. I don't have time to deal with this man that does not want to do the work to heal himself. I cannot be his mama. I cannot be, his daddy, his therapist. I cannot be all those things. I'm supposed to be his woman. And a woman is not supposed to be that to a man. A man needs to go and get that therapy and whatever he needs to do for himself so he can come to the table and be a whole man for that woman. And I think women are saying, you know what? No, I'm done. Let me just go over here, make my money, travel the world, do what I want to do because I don't have time to do this. You guys need to do healing. You need to do the work.
Hmm.
And it's all this like, well, it's this pointing of fingers. But no man has, in all of these podcasts, no man has really said, you know what, brothers, we really need to do the work. We need to go ahead and check into our mental health, our physical health, our spiritual health. We need to do the work so that we can be the best man possible for our sisters, for our women. It's the point of, it's the men, it's the women, nobody wanting to do the work. And so sisters are like, you know what, I'm done. Let me go do my own
All right.
counseling.
Have you ever heard of the gentleman called Kevin Samuel?
Of course I've heard. Who hasn't heard of Candace Samuels?
He did that for 3 years to men. We need to do better. We need to do this. We need to do that. There was crickets from the women. You know what's not happening? The women are not correcting themselves. So even if I am a healed man and I fix myself, I've done the work because the community of men, we self-correct ourselves.
Okay.
What woman is doing that? None. You know why? Because women are so focused on being divided amongst their men, they put more effort into that than to healing themselves. They don't want to hear nothing about healing themselves. You know who they're championing right now? Queen Princella. Whatever her name, Princella, the queen maker.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
is their hero right now. You know what she's teaching? Division
Not in,
amongst the men.
not
That's
in,
all she teaches. As a
wait,
matter of
wait,
fact,
wait,
she just can't stand men
no,
yeah,
that's not
she
true. That's
that
not
is
true.
okay. You
Who's
tell
not?
me, where
Wait a minute.
Princella is trying to bring the community together, because I can count a whole bunch of people who are trying to do that amongst the women, and the women are so stubborn that they don't want to do that. Kevin Samuels tried to get the community together. Ayanna Van Zant tried to get the community together. Sister Shahrazad Ali tried to get the community together, but you know what the hard part about that is? One side of us don't want to do that. What guess which one that is? Is that the men or is that the women?
But you know what you just said, which I don't agree with. If a
Well,
man does the
I
work to
mean,
do
I mean, I
healing,
mean, just could you answer that quick? What side of
no,
that is
no,
giving
no,
the
no,
most
no.
pushback, the men or
Both,
the women?
it's both sides. I'm not going to say
The
women.
men are
I'm not
look.
because listen, because if I choose a side, then that means I'm just perpetuating the same thing that's continuously going on. Both men and women need to do the work. The fact of the matter is, if a man has done the work, then he will attract to himself the type of woman that he desires. But if you do the work and then you go back out into the community and you continue to choose the same women that you were choosing initially prior to doing the work, then what's the point?
The men are doing the work, Khafilah. The men
And
are doing the work. The women
no,
refuse to. They all gather around Princella, and Princella is a divider. She is not a uniter. She is.
listen, I've watched a couple of her podcasts. And I can't say I've watched all of them, but the ones that I did watch, I was very intrigued by some of the things that she was saying based on research. She's not just talking out the side of her neck. She's pulling out the research to talk about. She's giving you statistics and she's citing scientists and sociologists. She's giving you. So if you're watching her and you write down some of the names of the people that she's talking about, you can go look up the stuff for yourself. But
Listen,
most
I've
people
I've
won't.
I've seen some of the things that Princella talk about, and let me say this: she will sprinkle in some facts to try to make it sound good and try to make it sound intelligent, but she's talking garbage. She
Okay,
is she
okay,
is talking, and the reason I say that is I'm not just trying to bash her or anything. I just don't think that it is very productive. You're
give me
talking
one thing
about
that she's
creating a
talking about.
village of women
Give
without
me an
men,
example.
and
Give me
we
an
don't
example.
need men. She
Give me an example.
she said that men are incapable of love. What scientists can prove this scientifically that she can quote?
Did
I
she
think
use?
that I think see these are the things, these are the ideologies that she have that is absolutely ridiculous. Okay,
Did she give you? Did she provide any scientific evidence based on that statement?
they're how can she? It's a ridiculous statement. Not only is it a ridiculous statement, but it can't scientifically be proven.
But I guess if you if,
Okay.
if you look at it from a big picture, I guess what she was trying to say, and I don't want to speak for the sister, is that given that man operates from a paradigm of violence, maybe that's what she was talking about. We live in a violent society, and maybe that's what she was operating from. She didn't say black man. She didn't say white man. She said man, which is inclusive of all men. And so maybe what she was trying to say, and I don't want to speak for the sister, is that because man is a violent human being by nature, maybe that's what she means by that. I can only
Name a species of animal that doesn't have violence on this planet. Name a species. Every animal on this
yeah,
planet
no,
is
no.
subject to
Man is a
violence.
man
Okay,
is a
don't try
violent
to.
human being.
But
Man
what
is
I'm
a
saying is that she's trying to weaponize the male nature to provide and protect. In order to protect, you have to have some violence in you. Okay, you can't talk your way or swoon your way out of conflict sometimes. And I'm gonna tell you something. If a woman who falls into a situation where she needs protection, she gonna want her man to be violent to protect her. See, it's all good when it works to women's benefit, right?
nowadays
But
women attacking, so maybe not.
huh?
I said nowadays women carrying that heat, so maybe not.
And guess what? Yeah, they're carrying heat, but guess what? That's violent. So are women innately violent? No. See, the thing is, we live in a society, right, that made it so cush for women that our actual violence created a safe space. This is why the US has the largest military on the planet. We created that so we don't have to fight.
Well, I think
Okay?
what you guys need to really do is find out what Princella, when she said men are incapable of love. I would like to know myself what she meant by that statement.
Well, it's not even something to figure out because it's
I'm
bull.
curious to know because I would like to know on what premise is she making that statement because it could be some validity to that based on her own experiences and her own research.
Another thing she said is that men and women are incapable of living together. Men
Because it's
are
like oil and
men
vinegar.
men are water, yeah, water, oil and water. Men are oil and water. As a matter of fact, she said, if you have kids together, the little girl should move in with the mother and the little boy should move in with the father, completely separating the siblings. Okay, by gender.
Why would you do that? Why would you
Huh?
do? Why would you do that? Why would you separate your brothers and your sisters?
Because the father and the mother can never get along.
I don't agree with that.
But
I don't agree
I
with
don't
that.
agree with that either. But guess what? She has a huge following of women who do agree with that.
I don't believe that.
She has a huge following of women who do agree with that. And when she said that, I thought that it was absolutely ridiculous. And you're talking about being to a point where you're trying to create this, for all intents and purposes, this Amazonia for women where they'll even take their daughters into their community and separate them from men. Now, in my opinion, Princella is a woman who needs a whole lot of psychological help. Therapy is what she needs. What she doesn't understand is the nature of the universe. What is the nature of the universe? The nature of the universe is duality. Okay? That is the nature of that's a scientific thing. Duality, positive, negative, black, white. Okay, yin yang. It's been around long before Princella.
Yeah.
But in her ideology, she is fighting her strongest to dismantle what is natural in the universe. It's a universal law. Men and women should be together, but there's one part that is fighting for separation, and that is a losing combination. It is a roadmap to self-destruction. This is why the whole pregnancies are dropping, weddings are dropping, and the population is decreasing.
I don't think Priscilla has the she ain't got that much power to cause weddings and people not to
But she
have.
got that much power to cause it in our community.
Well, I mean, if
Okay.
she's causing that much in the community, then why aren't y'all rising up and changing it? Why aren't y'all stand? I mean, it'll be. This is what I would like to see, and I hope Brother Muhammad is listening. I would like to see her sit down with some of these Nation of Islam brothers because I would really
Ooh.
like to see her take, especially I think his name is Brother Muhammad.
RZA.
Yeah,
I'd
RZA.
like to see her with
I would
RZA.
really like to
Yeah.
see her sit down with RZA because I would really, and that would be an interesting debate because I would
He will dismantle her so quick it her head will spin. Okay. He will have her talking in tongues by the time it's all over with. Because I'm gonna tell you, the laws of division is not sustainable. All you will end up doing is self eliminating yourself.
mm-hmm,
Okay, if you have women living separately from the men, okay, what are the women going to do? There's not going to really be another generation coming up behind you. Look, this is what other cultures would love for us to do. They would. This is why her material is getting pushed out into social media and internet because they love this. They love this. Yes, please fight amongst yourselves. Live separate. We trying to decrease our population anyway because ours is decreasing. So we need to slow y'all down. Okay. And the best way to slow y'all down is for y'all to self destruct. And this is why I feel like she is a plant. She is a plant, maybe even pushed by some alphabet communities. I'm not going to say who because I don't want to trigger nothing, but she is a plant being pushed by some alphabet communities, and they are pushing her material all over the net because what she teaches is self destruction.
mm, okay, okay,
And see, now if we had a group of ladies, see, and here's the thing, when Kevin Samuel was speaking inclusion, being coming together, women they didn't like that. They didn't
mm,
like that. Why? Because it required them to do some work too, not just the men. He talked to
mm-hmm,
the men for 3 years. The women heard, they heard like 2 months of what he was talking about, and they are the one who meant took Kevin Samuel viral because of their disdain for him. Okay, we lost Khafilah here. See if she'll join us back and pop back in. But she is out of the country right now. So the internet connection between this country and hers is a little sketchy. Okay. I'm going to take this time to ask y'all to hit the like, share, and subscribe. If you're enjoying the conversation so far, nobody take anything personal. You know, this is just a lighthearted discussion among people. Probably some of the stuff that y'all been thinking about yourselves, and you know, we're just verbalizing it. So put it in the comments. What do you think about what I've said and what she's said so far? And we can continue on with the conversation. Like I said, hopefully she'll pop back in, and she will
you there for
continue on.
like I lost you there.
Okay, there we go. I'm sorry. What was that?
I said I lost you for a second there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we're in different countries, so it be like that sometimes. But go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I I think in all fairness, I think that both sides need to do the work that's required to heal and to grow. I mean, there's a lot of healing that needs to take place. I mean, we're talking about brothers and sisters and people in general, but let's talk about the African American community. We're talking about brothers and sisters losing loved ones to COVID. We had 2 years of that. Brothers and sisters losing loved ones to COVID, mothers, fathers, children. You're talking about children, our children being going back to school, not receiving any counseling around losing their mother, their father, their grandmother to COVID. So I think there's a lot of healing that needs to take place amongst us that has not taken place. And until that healing is put in place, I think this is going to be a continuous bickering of the genders going on. But individually, if you're conscious enough, then you'll do the work that's necessary to grow and move on and build the community. I
But
think nobody
Kafila,
talks about that.
you're not gonna heal yourself if you don't think anything is wrong with you.
Well, I mean that's true, but it requires a certain type of person to recognize that there's some stuff going on with them. And I don't really think, and this is no slight, I don't think passport bros or passport girls, any of that is going to solve the problems. I think the problems begin with when we do the work that's required to heal ourselves. I mean, listen, if you don't want certain types of elements or a certain type of woman in your life, then you don't pick that type of woman anymore. Same thing with a man. If you don't want that certain type of man in your life, then you don't make those choices anymore. And if it means that you are not able to find, or that person hasn't found you yet, then you can just continue to do the work. Or if it's not meant for you to find that person in this lifetime, then you do what you're doing, and you continue to be a positive, productive person in your community. Period.
In my opinion, if passport bros don't wake sisters up, nothing will.
I don't think sisters care.
That is the entire problem. That is the
I don't think
entire problem. That's what I'm talking
I
about.
don't think they care about that anymore.
That's what I am talking about.
Well, let me
So,
tell you why
so
they
if
don't.
they don't care about the men that they are losing to other communities, if they don't care about their future generations and their future families, if they don't care about the economics in their community, if they don't care about none of that, then what are we doing? Like,
I think
what do you care about other than yourselves? This is what men are thinking or asking a lot of women. And
okay.
I'm,
Can
this
I
is just a
answer that?
generic question, but yeah, go ahead.
I think the issue is not. I don't think it's. I think women don't care because we recognize that the men are not necessarily doing the work. And so it's like you say, okay, I had a couple bad relationships with this woman and didn't work out, and this and that and the fifth. And then it's like, I'm just going to be a passport bro. And then you go and get your passport. And so we're saying, okay, if that is what you want to do, so be it. And it's so easy to throw in the towel than to do the work that's required to heal. It's easy to throw in the towel, but it's harder to do the work because there will be no need for
Are
a
you
passport.
talking about the men or the women at this
I'm
point?
talking
Because
about
I agree with that statement. It's easier to throw in the towel, but sisters are the ones that don't care. That's what you just said. So it sounds like they throwing in the towel.
the sisters don't care because we recognize that you all are not doing the work.
What are you talking? We've been doing the work, like I told you with KS, with ourselves, even
Okay,
passport bros. We're doing the work. The ones that we get the pushback, the ones that give the most pushback are the women. They're not doing the work.
okay. So if brothers have been doing the work, why are our communities still the same?
What do you mean why our community is still the same? Our community, the reason why our community is still the same is because our partners are in competition with us instead of working with us.
That's
You know
bullshit.
how farther we could be if we had a
Umar,
cooperative partner?
no,
We could be
Doctor
very
Doctor
far.
Umar called y'all out on that and called y'all out on that.
Dr. Umar,
Called y'all out on that, and you
let's be
know it.
clear. Let's be clear. He panders to women. Let's be clear, especially
Oh, come
sisters,
on,
since
come
they
on.
are the one. Oh no,
Doctor,
no, that is the truth. He do
that is
pander
not
to
true.
women.
Doctor,
Uh,
look, y'all, the
but,
community should not. So this is what I always find so fascinating to me.
okay.
Why is it someone that is not a part of our community, such as the Nation of Islam, can come into the community and make those changes, but our educated, non-educated, entrepreneur brothers can't do the same thing? Like what? Like
What Nation of Islam was built by the men in the community. You know that,
yeah.
right?
So let's say that the Nation of Islam is not there anymore. Why is it that the African American men that are educated, non-educated, I'm gonna throw them all in the loop. Why can't you all come and do those things in the community? Like Umar said, it takes a village. He can use an example. Just because the child is not your child Does that mean that you don't mentor that child? No. Why can't black men mentor children that are not necessarily their children? I mean,
Why can't women stay with the baby daddy?
well, women get with men for a variety of reasons. It's oftentimes it's the women, and I think I heard the queen says this. She said that it's usually the women that are on the bottom of the totem pole, or I guess she was talking about in terms of economics, that tend to have multiple baby daddies versus the women that are up here that may have only one child. So I mean, I'm not even gonna get into that because there's a whole lot of dynamics as to why women don't stay with the baby daddy and all this. It's a lot of stuff. It goes back to that thing that I keep saying: healing, doing the work to heal. Self-esteem is an all-time low in our community. Women don't love themselves, men don't love themselves. That's why this mess is the way that it is. Nobody loves themselves. They keep looking outside of self for love. There's no self-love, there's no self-pride. There's no pride. No pride, no love, no nothing. So we go outside of ourselves and we think the money, the bags, the passports, all this other stuff is going to help us heal, but it's not. To thy own self be true. Until you do the work, it's always going to be the same. Ain't nothing going to change. And brothers and sisters are not doing the work.
Ain't nothing going to change unless we work together. Okay.
But you can't work together until you work on yourself first.
How does you can't what you do have to work on yourself. But if you don't think anything is wrong, you know how you look, listen. I and this is just my opinion. I think men are much more quicker to recognize a fault in themselves than the women are. The women often feel like they walk on water. There is nothing wrong with them. And they don't get the help that they so much need. This is why a lot of men are frustrated.
That's a lie. There are more women in therapy than there are men. You can research that one.
They're okay. If there are a lot of women in therapy, just because you go to therapy don't mean you're fixed. Okay? Just because you go to therapy don't mean you're fixed.
Then why go to therapy? Why spend the money and go to therapy then?
Because they like to talk. Women like to talk. They like to release their emotions and talk to someone, but it's not a I'm not saying that. Okay, let me clear something up. I'm not. Hold on.
Have you been to therapy?
I have been to therapy.
Okay, so do you know that therapy is not about fixing you? Therapy is about you doing self-reflection.
I understand that. I understand that. But there's a difference between going to therapy, talking it out, and then going into another relationship and changing habits. Okay? Women don't mind going to therapy and talking it out. But when it comes to effective change, that part is the hard part. Okay?
Where's your research on that? Where's your research?
That's my opinion. That's my opinion.
Okay.
That ain't about research. That's my opinion.
Okay.
It is harder to change yourself. It's harder to change your habits. Okay, and that is not even my opinion. That is actually a fact. It's hard to change habits. You have to continuously do something in order to change habits. Okay, now talking to someone, on a Saturday night when you off work and you want to emotionally drain to a therapist, that's all fine and dandy. But when you come back home and you still have the same mentality, that don't mean that you're necessarily doing the work. It's just you started, but there is still a lot of more effective work for you to do because you still aren't changing a lot of your ideologies. You still are not changing a lot of your habits. So you will still go into a new relationship without trusting men. Okay, off the bat, you'll still go into a relationship.
This has to be your opinion because that doesn't even make sense.
What do you mean that doesn't make sense?
And nobody that's paying, shelling out thousands of dollars, or sitting on someone's couch or sofa for hours at a time is going to turn around and then go into a relationship and they haven't done the healing. Like, who does that? Like, who? Like, what is your evidence?
That's so cute. That's so cute. You really think everybody that walks out of a therapist's office is healed? You really think that? They are not. They're not
That's
healed.
not what I'm
Just
saying.
because they're gold don't mean they are healed, Kafila. And
That's
that definitely doesn't mean that they've changed in certain core ways. They still got those same problems. If you have gone through trauma as a child, a couple sit downs ain't gonna fix that.
nobody said
Okay?
it. Nobody. People do lifetime of therapy.
Yeah, a lifetime of therapy. You shouldn't. You shouldn't have to do a lifetime of therapy. But if you do a lifetime of therapy, then maybe therapy is not necessarily working for you, because you should be at a point where it is changing your life. Okay, you
Everybody
should
is.
graduate just like you do from school, like a college or getting a master's.
You can't say that because everybody is at a different stage in their life, and everybody has their own time and processes as to how long it would take them to heal. So you cannot say that you should be, if you go therapy, you should be X, Y, and Z. You can't say that. I mean, it's like it took years for people to realize that smoking killed you. Well, I mean, anybody that knows, has any common sense, and common sense ain't always common, knows that tobacco will kill you. But it took years for the tobacco company to admit and put the label in there. The Surgeon General says X, Y, and Z. But by that time, millions of people were already addicted. So it's going to take time for those people that have that addiction to get off those cigarettes. So it's like it's same thing. It takes years for some people, and some people, they get the message and they are immediately booked. They turn the switch that quick. So everybody is at a different stage. So we can't say that if you've done X amount of time in therapy, you should be able to do X, Y, Z. Some people are like this, and other people, it's a process for them. So I'm just listen. Everybody is on their own journey in this life, and it's not our my role or your role to judge when they should and
Listen,
should be healed.
listen. Let me say this for the record. We love our women. I speak on behalf of all. Let me
That's
finish. I speak on behalf of all brothers. We love our women. If we didn't love our women, we wouldn't be as upset as we are. If
probably.
we didn't love our women, we wouldn't be trying to work things out. If we didn't love our women, we wouldn't be married to them up to 86%. Okay? We
But
love
you
our women.
those marriages are happy. I think we talked about that. Just because somebody's married 20, 30, 40 years, they don't mean they're happy. You need to ask the women in those marriages if they're
You can
happy.
say that about any race. You can say that about any people. Yeah.
You need to ask the women, not
But
the men.
the but the but
Married 20, 30 years. But what is the wife saying about that? Was she happy?
yeah, and that's what Princella said too.
Yeah.
Yeah, a man can brag about being married for 30 years, but what did the woman say?
What did the woman say?
Let me ask you this. I thought that was funny that she said that.
Why?
Y'all really don't have a clue. Y'all really you think the woman is the only one that got to put up with stuff in the marriage?
What do y'all
I
say?
see grown men in tears crying, holding purses. They got to go out with their boys just to get away from their nagging wife. They got to drink something, smoke something. They have to have an escape. You think that women are the only ones who got to put up with something? I laughed when Princella said that, as if, oh, you got to ask the woman to see if it's a legitimate or a happy marriage. You know how many men stay in marriages, and they try to work things out. But let me tell you something.
No, y'all
The
staying in
women are no less happy than the men. The
because
men
you don't want to be
put up with a
alone.
whole bunch of stuff to stay in a marriage.
Oh, so you don't think women put up with a bunch of stuff to stay in marriages?
Not as much as men.
Really?
Really,
So then, if
really,
that's the case, then why are women filing for divorce more than men?
because they get rewarded for it.
Oh,
Next
you're
question.
so ridiculous. Because
No, they get rewarded for it. If a man could, let me tell you, if a man could get most of your wealth, the men will probably divorce women more.
a woman stays in there just so she can get most of the wealth.
Hypergamy. It's a natural thing with women.
Well, I hear women say, I'm staying in this marriage until the children are grown, until the children go off to college, and then I'm leaving because I've had enough.
Okay, 65 to 70% of women file for divorce. And if they have a college education, 90% of those women file for divorce. Okay. I refuse to believe 90% of the men are that bad. Okay? I refuse to believe. Let's be clear. Let's be clear. There is incentive for women to file for divorce. Let's be clear. You talking about child support, you talking about alimony, you talking about all of these things, half ownership, half everything of the man's wealth. Men know that marriage is risky. Let's not pretend like there is not some kind of financial reward. Women try to trap men in a lot of marriages and having a lot of kids all
Trap,
the time.
trap. What do you like? What segment of women are you talking about?
Have you ever heard the term? Have you ever heard the term? Have you ever heard the term?
Listen, I walked away from. I got a divorce. You know what the judge said to me? You have a PhD. You'll be able to get back on your feet quicker. I walked away from a divorce. I didn't get nothing. So what are you talking about?
I don't want. I don't want to speak on that. I don't. I don't want to speak on that because of certain things. But let me just
Come
say
on now.
this.
Come on.
Let me. Have you ever heard the term? Have you ever heard the term? Have you ever heard the term gold digger?
Who hasn't?
What define a gold digger for me?
I mean, maybe it's a woman that seeks a man that has wealth so she could take half of what he got.
Exactly. That is what I'm talking about. Let's not pretend like marriage is not a benefit to women financially.
Would
It
you
is
want?
a side hustle for women. That
Let
and
me ask
having
you
kids.
this.
A lot
Let
of
me
time.
ask you this.
I'm not saying all. I'm not saying all. I'm
Would you
just
want your
saying
daughter to marry a poor man, or would you want your daughter to marry a man that had wealth to take care of her? Hello?
my daughter,
No,
I
no.
would
Would
want
you
her to
want?
marry a rich man.
Thank you very much. And so, if she
Exactly.
divorced him, would you say she was
Exactly.
a gold digger? Would you say she was a gold digger if she
I
divorced
wouldn't
him?
I wouldn't say she's a gold digger, but I'd be naive to think that the system is not going to work in her behalf.
So,
Okay. I'm not
so,
saying I blame women. Hold on. Let me
oh,
be
oh,
clear.
okay. I just wanted to
I'm
clear
not.
it
I'm
up.
not saying. I'm not necessarily saying I blame women. Okay. Men are probably more at fault for this phenomenon than women are. I'm not saying I blame women for taking advantage because let me tell you, I know the nature of human beings. Human beings are going to take advantage of whatever advantage they got on this earth. Okay, men are going to take care of. They're going to take advantage of men privilege. Women are going to take advantage of female privilege. It is what it is. Life is hard. You gotta hustle. You gotta take advantage of your advantage. That's why I don't really trip on chicks who do OF. I don't really trip on them. I understand that it doesn't take much talent or character or knowledge or work to do those things. But if I was a woman, I'd probably be busting it open. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But what I'm saying is everybody takes advantage of their advantages. They because like I said, life is too hard. So you're going to do that if you are not in a privileged situation already. Okay, it just is what it is. So I'm not necessarily blaming women for moving the way they are, filing for divorce 80 to 90%. Okay, they know that there is a treasure at the end of that rainbow. Let me go ahead and file for divorce. They don't. A lot of times, women don't even have a good reason. I'm gonna just keep it high.
I mean,
They
you
don't
have.
even.
You can't. How can you say that women don't have a
They,
good reason? You're
they
not
don't even have a good reason for filing for divorce.
all
You,
women, you know, it's so interesting because there's a perspective that women are these bad individuals, and we just getting into this marriage so we can get half this incentive and child support. We do with a lot of shit in marriage.
I'm
You
not
think?
saying you don't. I'm not saying you
I
don't.
mean,
So there's some men who are some scumbags
let me
too.
say what have to say. Do you think that women want to come home every day and cook? Absolutely not. We want partners that's going to help us do that. Do you want to put down the toilet seat every night, cap on the toothpaste, drawers in the middle of the floor, socks? We don't want to be dealing with that shit 24/7. We didn't
Mm-hmm.
get into marriage to be your maid. We got into marriage for a partnership and to raise children to be productive citizens. And I think oftentimes men get into these marriages wanting maids. We are not your maid.
Okay. And I know round of applause for that comment because I know a lot of women like that bar. We are not your maids. I get it. I
Like
get
that.
it.
We are
but
not maids. We are
but
not.
but here's the thing though, Kafila, and I know a lot of women are not going to like this. Okay, but a man don't get to take off for being a man. He don't get no breaks from being a man. Okay, he is expected to be a provider and a protector 1,000% of the time. Women nowadays think that being a woman is being a maid or being some kind of slave. No,
Because men treat
no,
us like that.
no, we
Instead of looking at,
don't.
yes, you
No,
do.
we
Instead of
don't.
looking at women as helpmates. You know, oh, that's your role. That's what you're supposed to do. No, I'm not supposed to do anything but pay my taxes and die. That's it.
Okay, well, can a man take a break from being a provider every once in a
I
while? No,
say
he
we're
can't. He
supposed
can't.
to
He
be.
can't take a break.
What are you providing? What are you providing? If women are getting, let's go back to what you said about the technology. If women are making money, getting college educated, making their own money, doing their own thing, so you are so now you are the provider. So basically, women have removed that role of a man being the provider because women are now
Is
making their
she
own.
is she paying the majority of the bills?
Some women are.
I'm talking about most of them. Are they paying the majority of the bills?
I'm going to be fair and say that it's a 50-50. I'm going to say it's a split down 50% men.
No, it's not no 50-50. No,
So,
it's not.
so men are
If a
paying
man, the man,
50%.
the only way to even justify being with a man for most women is if he is paying at least most of the bills. There is no 50-50. Okay? This is why men don't care about women income. So what
That's
I'm
a
saying
bullshit
is
type.
it is expected,
That's
even if a
not.
woman is making a lot of money, her man better be making more than her in more most of the cases. Okay? So all that being said, he can't take a break from being a man.
It's not
Okay?
about
But a
taking a
lot of
break.
women want to take a break from being a woman
You're
because
my
they don't want to do
oh,
things that are
oh,
expected
you're missing.
by women for women to do. They don't want to do women
You're
things.
missing the point that I said. I said that it is a partnership. That's what I said to you. I said it's a partnership. It's not about the woman doing everything in all things. It's a partnership. And that's the point that's
It's
being
never been
missed.
about the woman doing everything in all
Oh my
things.
God. Oh my God.
It's never been. It's never been.
Look,
At what point did you see a woman doing everything in all things
listen.
in a relationship, and she was happy doing it?
Well, that's
Never.
why the divorce rates are high because obviously women are doing everything. That's why the divorce rates are outside of the man cheating and not being a provider and helping to. Do you think a woman wants to come home, cook, and do with the kids at the same time? What is the husband on? You just sitting around waiting for him for your meal? What about the husband helping with the homework, helping with the meals,
I
helping? It's like,
listen.
mate,
I don't necessarily disagree with men helping around the house. As a matter of fact, I have a philosophy, and many may not agree with this, but I'm gonna just tell you my philosophy. My philosophy is a man is supposed to handle everything outside of the house. That means bills. That means mow the lawn, shovel the snow, cut the hedges, paint the house, do take out the garbage, do protect the house from intruders or whoever. A man is supposed to take care of everything outside of that house. That's his duty. The woman take care of everything inside that house. That means cook. That means clean. That means take care of the kids. Why? Because I don't have breasts. I can't feed the kids. You are a nurturer by law, so it is
ridiculous.
expected to you by men by men for you to be the nurturer. Now, it is expected by me from women to be the provider and protector. I'm playing my role. Okay, I
There
gotta
is
pass
no
you the
role.
ball sometimes, and
There
you
is no
gotta
role.
do your thing. But you don't want to do that. You want me
There
to
is no
do
role
everything,
anymore. There is no
huh?
role. There is no role when it comes to being inside the home. There is no role. It's called being a helpmate. If
There is
both
no roles.
well, if both people are working a 9 to 5,
Okay,
going to a job dealing with the man on a 9 to 5,
yeah.
the ideal situation is that both parties, when they come home, they help one another out. Their sister's dealing with their white man just as much as the brother's dealing with the white man. And to think that a woman wants to come home and then do all of that, she wants help. Help with
She
the
get
kids.
she
Help.
okay, but like I said, what makes you think that my scenario is not a man helping. A man that's helping. Okay, that's helping. If a man is doing everything outside of the house, that is helping. That is a designated role. Okay, and she has a designated role. Maybe we're just arguing about the semantics here, but that is still a 50-50 situation. If
Listen,
if I am the man, it's still expected to pay at least probably most of the bills, right? I take care of everything outside the house. I nurture and I take care of the outside and the protection. Why can't the woman do her part? It's almost as if women want to try to find a hack so that the man, he automatically is assigned everything outside the house, but they want him to do some of the inside work too, just to take a load off of them while they get more leisure time, and he's working like a Hebrew. At that point, it's not even fair.
can I comment on that?
Yes, please.
First of all, I think it depends on where you are economically. I'm going to put it in that context because to use myself as an antidote, when I was married, my ex-husband, basically, we, other than the plumbing and the electrical stuff, he did all that in the house. But when it comes to washing the gutters, painting the house, mowing the lawn, we had people hired services to do that.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes
Mm-hmm.
to cooking, yeah, I did cooking, most of the cooking, but he would easily say, "Hey, what do you need me to help you with?" It's the idea of a man being conscious enough to say, "Can I help?" Not sit back and say, "Oh, that's the role that the woman is supposed to do inside the house, and I'm supposed to do the stuff on the outside of the house." He was conscious enough to say, "Hey, Khafilah, what you need me to help you with? You got this, or you need some help?" I appreciate
Again,
because I appreciated that. I had a desire to want to cook for him even more because he was conscious enough to say, "Hey, she worked just like I work. She may be tired. Let me ask if I can help her in any way."
let me be clear. I'm not saying that men shouldn't help out. But what I'm saying is oftentimes I feel as though women don't want to hold up their end of the bargain
There
as
is
far
no
as
bargain. It's a
the
partnership.
but it's only a partnership if most of the things are assigned to the man. Let me tell
Hmm.
you what men are really tired of, especially black men, is that everybody seems to be using us and we get no appreciation from nobody. Okay,
Using
no
y'all.
appreciation, and it gets to a point where it is an expectation of us to do certain things, and we don't even get appreciation for the things. Because why? Because our women think that now an expectation. This is, and a lot of times what men hear from women is, that's what you supposed to do. You know how many times men heard that from women? A ton of times. That's what you supposed to do. You ain't supposed to get no special treatment for that. That's what we hear from our women. So, but all that being said,
Using the
all
wrong word.
all that being said, listen, I think that um, we can fix this, but we got to work together. We got to agree that there is a problem so we can fix it. We got to care for one another instead of not caring. Okay. And we got to put a plan in place to build back the community. Okay. What are your final thoughts about that?
I just really think it's about expectations. I think you put expectations on people, and then you create these these situations where men and women are at odds with one another versus just working together, a partnership. Like I keep saying, there is no man, female. It's a partnership, and that's what it's
Wonderful.
about. I mean, it's just very interesting. This is not the Ward and June Cleave of the 1950s anymore. Both
Hmm.
people out working now. Both people are
Hmm.
coming home tired and exhausted from dealing with the day-to-day stuff.
I think we're all victims of capitalism.
Yeah, I would agree
Capital
with that.
Capitalism divided the homes so that more consumers and more capitalism can be exercised. And in order to create a economy that is thriving, you have to separate the genders, separate the families, and create more homes. So I don't blame the women. I don't blame the men. I blame the government. I always place all of my blame on the government for the division. But I do feel like as a people, it's our job to understand what the problem is and combat the capitalism, combat the separation that this country is trying to create. Any last words on that?
I mean, I agree. I think I agree with you on that. I think the capitalism, as much as the prices go up in terms of
Hmm.
rent and insurance and all those other kinds of things, it forces it puts a situation on the family where the woman cannot necessarily stay at home. It
Hmm.
forces the woman to go out and
Exactly.
choose their place, especially
Exactly.
if you want to live in a decent neighborhood that has, if you choose to put your children in public schools, especially if you want to live in a decent neighborhood that has, quality public schools or quality charter schools, it forces the woman to have to go out and work. It
Hmm.
creates a situation where the woman and the man has to work. And given that that is the situation, why are we arguing about roles when we already know that it's about capitalism? Why are we arguing about the man should do this and the woman should do this? And we already know what the deal is. We
Right,
both
right,
got
right.
to work.
I don't think a lot of people know that. That was a discovery that I made maybe about a year ago. That capitalism really is the true enemy, because you're right. It's gone are the days where the man can work and a woman can stay home and be a traditional woman, and a man can be a traditional man. They made it so that we all have to work. The inflation went through the roof,
It's called wage
and
slavery now. That's what it
and
is.
yeah, wage slavery. And not only that, but when you have that scenario, it just draws a divide amongst the families. And even if you're not making much money, even if you're on some kind of government assistance, they encourage you to get rid of the other half. The job is to divide the couples, and us in our community, especially black people, we need to fight hard to combat that and work together.
I don't know if it's divide. I don't. It's so interesting. You said divide the couples, but I don't
D-
see.
Divide and conquer, yeah, it
Well,
is.
you know what's kind of interesting. I see the division amongst certain classes of black women and black men. I don't see the sisters down in the hood without a man.
Hmm.
And it may not be the ideal man, but they all of them got a man. Even if they sharing a man, they got a man. It is only us that call ourselves or deem ourselves to be middle class or whatever the heck we want to call ourselves that seem to be having this thing like this all the time.
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
people even jokingly say when you watch, my 6,000, my 3,000 pound life or whatever, or even them, they got men. They got husbands and
Hmm.
and boyfriends that are standing by their sides. So what is it going on with us so-called educated brothers and sisters, or brothers and sisters that are in corporate America, that we can't get along with one another?
Ego. We need to work on our ego,
I
the
think
men and
that's
the
I
women.
think that's probably it too. Ego.
Hmm. We need to work on our egos, the men and the women. Just because you got a degree don't mean you're better than me. Just because I got money don't mean I'm better than you. Just because I'm a man, I don't think I'm better than you. Just because you're a woman, you're not better than me. We got to work on our egos first in order to come together, humble ourselves. I think that's the key. But all that being said, let us know what y'all think about this in the comments. We really would appreciate it. Hit the like, share, and subscribe. And I'm going to invite the good doc back for another conversation. Stay
Another
tuned for
debate.
that. And we'll check you in the next one. Peace.
Peace and love.